quite amazing, really. It's just gone 25 years by about a month that I managed to jump off the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, and it was an interesting story, really. I went to France just over 25 years ago as part of the New Zealand speed skiing team, and we had to pick up a rental car in Paris, and as we were driving out of town we went past the Tour Eiffel and had a look at it, and I thought, wow, this is a beautiful structure. I've got to jump off this thing. And before I'd left Auckland to go to France, I had this vision of jumping out of a cable car, arriving in the snow and skiing off down the mountain. That was my little romantic kind of trip, you know. And but when I saw the Eiffel Tower, I thought, no, this is a spot that I've got to come back to. So we headed off up into the mountains and quite quickly found a big bridge just near where we were staying, near La Clusaz or Annecy, about 25 minutes from Geneva. And this bridge is called the Pont Le Caille. It's 147 metres high, and that's where we started to do jumping French style, if you like. And we developed our systems further there, because in New Zealand the highest jumps that I'd done was about 80 metres, so this was almost double the height. So there's a few things we didn't know, and we didn't know about the effect of bungee cords and cold temperatures and all working with large groups of people. So we ended up having a great season skiing throughout France and other countries in Europe. And I met a guy that was filming a lot of the speed skiing, and he was based in Paris. So I'd pop into Paris every month or so for a few days and hang out there, and I'd go back to the Eiffel Tower, and I started getting serious about this. So I went in there one day and measured where I thought the good spot would be to jump from, which was under the second floor where the four legs come together. We just have to figure out a way to get in there, which I did. Dropped a little fishing line down with a weight on to check the height. Then we took it back to the Pont Le Caille, made up a bungee cord, and I'd jump until I was lined up perfectly with the little weight I had on this fishing line. And anyway, cut a long story short, the big decision was, do we try and get permission to do this jump, or do we just go in and just jump it as if we already have permission? And so we decided to do it that way, and put together a big team of people, and my future wife was one of the women in our team, and we had two gorgeous ladies. And part of the problem was we had to get all of the gear up onto the tower, because the plan was to sleep there for the night and jump off the structure early in the morning. And so about 10 of us went up the tower on one of the last lifts for the evening, met in a bar on the second floor, and then we had a scheme where we synchronised watches, blocked out a couple of cameras, security cameras that were pointing in the stairwells that would have to climb down, and entered this space. At the same time, the women went downstairs to the room where all the TV monitors were for the security cameras on the tower. And so at that time we felt, okay, everything's secure. Someone was talking to a security guard that was wandering around, and we quickly climbed over a fence, got the film crews in and our sleeping bags, all the gear, and settled in for the night. We had a couple of little problems with one of the cameramen freaked out and decided he couldn't handle it, so he had to leave. So he left and didn't get caught, which was wonderful. So first thing the next morning, we woke up a little bit later than expected, and rigged the jump up, and had a bottle of champagne on the top to celebrate the pre-departure sort of preparation. And the objective of the jump was to jump between the legs, arrive about 3 or 2.5 metres above the ground, and this lady that was helping me out with the jump, Sophie Gendel, had a bottle of Cordon Rouge champagne, and the idea was I was to grab that from her and open it, bouncing up and down under the tower, and try and have a few slugs upside down, you know. But I didn't understand French very well, so when we dropped the fishing line in for the final check for height, they said, I thought they'd said raise it up a couple of metres, but they meant lower it down 2 metres. So I felt I should be conservative because I didn't really want to touch the ground. And so anyway, everything's set up, and everyone was ready, cleared out some backpackers that were sleeping on the ground in the jump zone, and did the countdown and jumped. And it was perfect morning, perfect jump, and unfortunately missed the bottle of champagne and Sophie, jumped back up, missed the structure, because that was the really tricky part of the jump from a technical aspect, was ensuring that I didn't hit any of the structure on the way back up. And so the way we rigged it was had the bungee in the very centre of the legs where it all came up under the second floor, and I dived from the side out to the middle, so I'd do a vertical bounce. And so that all worked really well, and Sorry then lowered me down to the ground, and the gendarme were waiting, and but we had to get the gear off, so, and obviously have a little champagne to celebrate. It was all done, and yeah, the rope came down, and the gendarme arrested me, and it was quite nice. The guy that was doing the interviewing asked the question of, you know, what do you think the French police are going to do now, AJ? And I answered, I think it was something like, I believe they're quite reasonable people, and they'll see it as an inspiration to the people of Paris, France, and the world. And I think that's actually was the outcome ultimately, 25 years later. That's what's happened, because we've taken bungee from those early days where it wasn't for the public, it was just a private enjoyment thing with friends, to where now over 2.5 million clients have jumped with us from various sites around the world, and I think it certainly has been an inspiration for not only the people of Paris, but people from all around the world and all walks of life. You know, we've jumped 4-year-old kids, like the youngest boy to jump was my son Dean at 4, and my daughter at 4, and we've jumped people in their 90s, quadriplegics, people with serious physical disabilities, and anyone, you know, and it's been an amazing trip since then. And so, you know, the Eiffel Tower always holds something special for us, because it was really I suppose the jump that opened it up to the world and inspired a huge amount of interest in what bungee was. And being a New Zealander going to France, the Kiwi population really embraced this attack, if you like, on France, because, you know, the year before they were silly enough to blow up the Rainbow Warrior in our harbour in Auckland. So it was kind of seen a bit as like, okay, an eye for an eye, you know. And so the gendarmes were very cool. They couldn't really figure out what to charge me with, and I was leaving the country a couple of days later. So after about 10 minutes in the paddy wagon, they let me go. And so I don't think I've been arrested since. Doing a jump anyway.